You
At
have to
5 a.m.
leave.
my newly
Now.
divorced
What's
CEO
going on?
knocked on my
No
door.
time, just
I never
go.
expected her
I'm not
confession.
leaving you.
At 5 in the morning, when the sky was still pale blue and the city hadn't decided whether to wake up or keep dreaming, a knock shattered the quiet of my apartment. It wasn't loud or desperate, just firm enough to say that whoever stood on the other side needed something more than sleep. I remember standing there barefoot, the chill of the tiled floor climbing up my legs, my heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain yet. When I opened the door and saw her standing there in a simple beige coat, eyes tired but sharp, hair tied back like she was already preparing for battle, my mind refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. This was Arya Mera, the CEO of the company that employed me, recently divorced, powerful, admired, feared, and somehow standing at my door at dawn with a look that felt dangerously close to breaking. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that sometimes life knocks on your door when you least expect it, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The morning light crept in slowly behind her, painting long shadows in the hallway, and I realized this was not a dream. Arya Mera was not the kind of woman who showed up unannounced anywhere. She planned everything. Her divorce had been all over the business pages for weeks, though she never spoke of it at work. She walked into boardrooms with a calm authority that silenced arguments, her presence alone enough to remind everyone who was in charge. Yet here she was, at 5 in the morning, looking smaller somehow, like the weight she carried was finally visible. I let her in without asking questions because some moments don't allow logic. They only allow instinct. My apartment was modest, clean, and quiet, the kind of place you rent when you believe stability is something you earn later in life. She stood near the window, watching the sun begin to rise, and the silence between us grew heavy. I had joined Mera Dynamics 3 years ago as a junior analyst, fresh out of university, full of ambition and fear. She barely knew me beyond reports and performance reviews, yet something had brought her here. I could feel it in the way she held herself, like someone standing at the edge of a cliff, deciding whether to step back or fall. The past year had been brutal for her. The divorce from Raghav Mera, once considered a power couple in corporate circles, had ended not with scandal but with exhaustion. Two people who had built empires together had quietly decided they could no longer share the same emotional space. At work, she remained unshaken. At least that's what everyone believed. But that morning, as daylight filled the room, I sensed that the armor she wore so well was cracking. She didn't waste time with formalities. She spoke about pressure, about how being strong for everyone eventually leaves you alone. She spoke about board meetings that felt easier than empty homes, about nights spent staring at ceilings, wondering how success could feel so hollow. I listened, unsure how someone like her had chosen me as the witness to this vulnerability. Maybe it was because I wasn't part of her inner circle. Maybe it was because I didn't expect anything from her beyond professional respect. As she talked, memories of my own struggles surfaced. Growing up, I had watched my mother rebuild her life after my father left, carrying resilience like a quiet flame. I had learned early that strength didn't mean never breaking, it meant choosing to stand again. Sitting there with Arya, I realized that even people at the top need permission to be human. And maybe she had knocked on my door because she needed someone who would see her not as a CEO, not as a headline, but as a person who was tired of pretending. The morning unfolded slowly. The city woke up outside, horns honking, vendors calling out, life continuing without regard for personal crises. She spoke about how every decision she made was questioned now, not because of her competence, but because she was newly divorced, as if her personal life had suddenly invalidated her professional authority. She admitted that she felt like she had failed, not just in marriage, but in proving that she could have everything without sacrificing herself. Listening to her, I felt a shift inside me. Fear gave way to empathy. Respect deepened into something warmer, more complex. This wasn't about attraction or ambition. It was about connection in an unexpected moment. I offered her tea, something simple, grounding, and as she held the cup, her hands trembled just slightly. That small detail stayed with me. It reminded me that vulnerability doesn't announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in quiet gestures. Over the following hours, she shared how loneliness had followed her success like a shadow. Friends became distant, conversations became transactional, and even celebrations felt scripted. She confessed that waking up that morning, she had felt an overwhelming need to be honest with someone, anyone, before she drowned in her own silence. Somehow, my name had surfaced in her mind. Maybe because I once stayed late to help a teammate without being asked. Maybe because I spoke up respectfully in meetings instead of trying to impress. Small things, forgotten by me, remembered by her. As the sun climbed higher, the atmosphere in the room changed. The heaviness eased, replaced by something fragile but hopeful. She wasn't looking for solutions. She wasn't asking me to fix anything. She just needed to be heard. And in listening, I realized how rarely people truly listen to those they assume are strong. That day marked a turning point, though neither of us knew it yet. At work, things remained professional, but something subtle shifted. She began to delegate more, to trust others with responsibilities she once carried alone. I found myself growing, taking on challenges with renewed confidence, inspired by the courage it takes to admit weakness. We never spoke of that morning openly, but it lived between us like a quiet understanding. Weeks passed, and the company faced one of its toughest quarters. Market pressures intensified, competitors circled, and morale dipped. Arya stood firm, but I could see the strain. Remembering that morning, I chose to support in ways that didn't seek recognition. Late nights, thoughtful analysis, encouraging teammates who felt overlooked. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about paying forward the trust she had placed in me by showing up. One afternoon, sunlight pouring into the conference room, she addressed the team with an honesty that surprised everyone. She spoke about resilience, about rebuilding, about how setbacks don't define us unless we let them. The room felt different after that. People leaned in. They cared. And I realized that her confession that morning had not been a weakness. It had been the seed of a stronger leadership style, one rooted in authenticity. Personally, I faced my own doubts. Was I overstepping emotionally? Was it dangerous to feel connected to someone in power? But the connection was never inappropriate. It was human. It reminded me that workplaces are made of people, not titles. And that sometimes, the most powerful moments happen outside boardrooms, at 5 in the morning, when the world is quiet enough for truth. As months went by, Arya slowly reclaimed parts of herself she had lost. She moved into a new apartment filled with light. She took weekends off. She laughed more, a sound that felt earned. I watched this transformation with quiet pride, knowing I had played a small role simply by listening when it mattered. Near the end of the year, the company announced record growth. Celebrations followed, but what stayed with me was a simple moment on the office terrace, midday sun warm on our faces, the city alive below. She thanked me, not with grand gestures, but with sincerity. She acknowledged that morning without naming it, expressing gratitude for kindness that didn't ask for anything in return. If this story is starting to resonate with you, if you've ever been the strong one who needed a safe place to land, or the quiet supporter who showed up without applause, let us know in the comments. Your stories matter too. The real confession she made that morning wasn't about her divorce or her loneliness. It was about fear. Fear of becoming untouchable, unreachable, alone at the top. And in facing that fear, she changed not just her life, but the lives around her. I learned that inspiration doesn't always come from grand speeches. Sometimes it comes from answering a knock at dawn and choosing compassion over confusion. As the story comes to a close, I want to ask you something special. Before the ending, please comment the word hope if you believe that even the most unexpected moments can change a life. Life has a strange way of testing us. It puts us in places we never imagined, with people we thought we only knew from a distance. That morning taught me that kindness doesn't need permission, and listening can be an act of courage. Arya Mera didn't just walk away from a broken marriage, she walked toward a fuller version of herself. And I didn't just open a door, I opened my understanding of what it means to truly be there for someone. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that strength and softness can coexist, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and engage with the channel. Your support helps bring more stories of hope, healing, and human connection to life.